we can get it right. Diabetes. So I assume you already took your blood sugar test.
Yeah.
But the thing I like to add about when it comes to sugar. So sugar is an inflammatory, as we mentioned. And the sugar actually interferes with your baby's genome system. So when you get on that DNA chain and you start looking at the genome, sugar turns on mutations. And that turning on mutations continues throughout the child's life. So this is why we really have to avoid the sugar so much, is that we don't want to be flipping on mutations because we're constantly putting ourselves in a state of inflammation. Just for the camera, we'll say that if you're having an issue with gestational diabetes, you definitely want to eat a salad every day. You definitely can do the cinnamon pills. They sell them in the health store. I've used those with my patients. They work great. I didn't really think it was gonna do it. And I'm pretty natural. I was like, oh, I can't believe these are gonna do a lot, but it does. It works quite well. It helps with their blood sugar. And then if you find that they're still talking about putting you on glyceride, or that they want to work with some insulin, hopefully not, if they've read their research, and you were not a diabetic before time, then you want to go into a fasting. Intermittent fasting will control their sugars. So if they fast at nighttime from say 7 o'clock in the evening to like 7 o'clock in the morning, you'll see that the blood sugars will become normal. So they can do intermittent fasting. But a real raw green smoothie in place of a meal is also helpful too. So they got a whole bunch of options that will keep that blood sugar level. Lots of things. Anemia. Okay, so now we're trying to oxygenate the tissue. This can also keep the baby from growing. So 2 things can keep your baby from growing on par. Protein is one, and having anemia is the second one. So everybody loves to pass out iron pills. They're not effective. They move really slow. They don't do anything fast. They constipate the mama, but they just pass them out like candy. These are much more effective, spirulina and chlorella. So I'll tell you a short story. I had a mama who at the 28 week, and I think we did it at 29 weeks, her iron level was down to, I think 10, which is low for one of my clients. They never are hanging around down there. So I put her on spirulina and chlorella because she's a very picky eater and she does not eat vegetables. We fight every pregnancy. I've done 3 babies for her. So we did this, and I sent her to the ER at about 2 weeks. It wasn't even 2 weeks postpartum, but it was more than a week because she was having some chest pain. I knew it was stress, but I didn't want to play with it. She's African American. We lose mamas. I said, we got to go get the workup and make sure that there is no blood clot traveling. We need to have that done. So she goes in, the ER runs the labs, comes back and wants to put her out. They say, you had a baby, it was more than a week, less than 2 weeks. And the doctor says, your hemoglobin is higher than mine. Her hemoglobin was 14.5. I had just checked it at like 30 weeks. And it was 10. Iron pills don't move at that speed ever. They never move at that speed. So this works much, much, much better for iron. So if the mom is anemic, they really should just pick up some spirulina and chlorella, and they will impress their physicians, the powers that be. They'll come in and be like, wow, what happened? They might think the iron pill is working, but they'll say, yeah, that iron is really working. Now, for our gut health, we talked about the seeding of our baby. It helps us absorb nutrients. So sometimes this happens. You got the mom, you're like, okay, we picked up the potassium, we picked up the magnesium, you're still having these chest palpitations, your iron looks okay. What's happening? The gut health is not okay. She's not absorbing, she's pooping out most of what you gave her. So you fix the gut, and then all of a sudden stuff starts absorbing. I had this issue with a vitamin A client. She was craving everything with vitamin A. When the moms are craving things, and I encourage that of every mother. If you are craving something really hard and you just have to keep eating that nutritional data sheet online. The government keeps it on almost every food you can eat. And see what that food has in it, and see if you can figure out what you're running a deficit in. And try to fulfill the deficit, and the craving will go away. And if you can't get it absorbed, see what it travels with. Because all vitamins travel with something else. And maybe the something else is what you need to get it to move. So that can happen with vitamin D too. Sometimes people really need the K2. But if you need the K2 to move your vitamin D, your gut health is not good because your gut makes the K2. So why would you need K2? The gut is not making the K2. So I need to get my gut in check so that I can make some K2 so that I can absorb my vitamin D. So it turns into a whole thing that happens there. I usually recommend at least 50 billion on a probiotic, just because women, you're gonna eat out, people eat out, the quality of our food is not that great, and I find that if they don't take it, they're gonna test GBS positive. Sometimes when they do take it, it's still, they can't get around being group registered positive, but it doesn't hurt to have a lot of it in the breast milk anyway. And I recommend Ultimate Flora. I never usually do products, but I find when it comes to probiotics, they really are not regulated, and you can tell if you're getting the dose you're supposed to get or not. They're the only ones that I've found to be consistent. You will consistently receive probiotic with Ultimate Flora, and I test others all the time at great expense to see if I can find others to recommend to mothers, and I have been sadly disappointed. There's some very well-known doctors that are great teachers, and I've tried their products and gotten them and been like, there's nothing in it, and have spent big money for their products. So I just tell people, stay with Ultimate Flora. I know that one you're gonna get dosed. Sauerkraut is another way. Not all sauerkraut is created equal. I tell people to go with a German or a Dutch glass jar out of the fancy part of the food aisle, sauerkraut, and that it actually will beat out a probiotic if you do a sauerkraut. And then I tell people, just do a big heaping tablespoon with the sour liquid once a day, and you have probiotic. So that's another way you could go, unless you just hate it. And then ACV, apple cider vinegar, is also good for the gut. It is not a probiotic. Very good for the digestion system. Keeps the gas down for the pregnant ladies. But if their probiotic is doing their job, they won't need the ACV. Also good for the blood sugar people too. If they feel like their blood sugar is swinging, the ACV at bedtime all the time. Okay. Then of course our mental health. So now if we're getting into feeling very agitated, very aggravated, that actually comes back around to a situation with our potassium. If you're in a really stressful situation, like we lost a parent, and we're very worked up about that emotionally, remember that we are potassium dumping while we're under stress. The adrenals suck up all the potassium, and you'll fall behind and be in a really serious deficit behind something like that. So you have to really get your potassium up. You have to be thinking about that. I gotta get my potassium up because my adrenal glands are working like crazy. And then as soon as you have your baby, you can start an adaptogen called ashwagandha. There are 5 or 6 different adaptogens, great ones, but ashwagandha is really great for women. Really great for women. I mean, I got a couple of dads who try everything their mamas try, and they're taking it to us and they feel great. However, I really like it a lot for women. It really over time just resets the adrenal gland. And you can tell when the adrenal gland is in a good spot. You don't get worked up much over things. You can handle things very calm. So I tell moms, if your kids are like getting on your nerves, your spouse is getting on your nerves, your job is working you up, you stand on high all the time, your adrenal gland needs to be reset. You need an adaptogen. You have to do it.
I keep it in the car.
It works quick too.
It does.
I used to carry it around in my purse. When I was in the middle of my divorce, I had to take it all day long because if I had the wrong dot, I'm worked up. I'm worked up. I'm mad. It's a whole thing going on. So I would just take that, and that would settle me down in about 30 minutes. and then that would last for a few hours before I would feel like I needed it again. So I would probably take this maybe 4 times a day in the middle of a serious issue. And now I don't even take that. Probably I take it once a month because I can definitely tell the difference.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was so different that I said, wow, am I still me?
Isn't that wonderful?
I felt like I was having an outer body experience because I would respond to my kids and respond to people totally different than I normally would. I'd be like, I wonder why I'm not angrier about that.
Yeah.
I just don't feel angry. I just don't feel upset.
Yeah.
I can tell I probably need to get back on it a little bit because my teenagers are driving me slightly
And then
annoyed.
the B complexes too, right?
You can do the B complexes too. They help a lot too. I haven't had anybody do a B complex alone. I haven't had that, so I don't know if the B by itself will do, but I know the B12 and the B6 is helpful, but I haven't had anybody do it alone to know
Yeah.
for sure if that by itself would do the same thing. And then of course, child spacing, but this program is not just food, so it has some other things in there about child spacing and stress, and the hardest time is when you jump from 1 baby to 2 babies.
Yeah.
Once you got 2, you can juggle. Once you can juggle, you can juggle.
Yeah.
But when you go from 1 to 2, that's a pretty hard jump, and so the nutrition has to be up. I tell everybody, if you're going into another pregnancy, try to get everything rolling ahead of time. Saying, okay, let me get back on my protein, let me get my potassium up, let me get everything up before I'm going, especially my vitamin D, because the breastfeeding really depletes vitamin D a lot. So I'm not dragging through the next pregnancy. Let me just try to get my body on par before I start the next pregnancy, because I think every midwife
That's
has
a good point.
experienced a mom coming back on the pregnancy too soon behind the other, and now we have preterm labor issues, or she just can't get anything done. She's tired. She's not even enjoying the pregnancy because her body was not ready to have the next baby, because she went through the pregnancy, then she breastfed, and that really depletes everything. Remember, baby first. So it will deplete everything, and then she weans the child and doubles right back around pregnant again, and the body was not ready, and it makes for all kinds of issues in the next pregnancy, and she'll just keep saying, my first pregnancy wasn't like this,
Three kids in. Back to back.
Back to back, mama, that's the problem. So I'll use that to caveat onto the full nutritional plan of your baby. So all of this is not for naught. It has so much to do with your baby's development and what kind of student you're trying to get. So this is where most people perk up at. Because everybody wants a genius. I don't know what that's all about, but we all want to birth a genius. So myself included. So this situation with the neural issues that are going on in our society can be tracked down to a lot of different things. Some people feel it's just vaccines, but the nutrition in your pregnancy plays a large role in this. So if you notice, for your baby's neurons, for their dendrites, for their astrocytes, for their oligodendrites, and everybody, this is all in the brain. This is all brain function. It tells you exactly what those systems are running off of when they're being formed. And this is from Fetal Development. The next page is going to show you the article it came from, but it has to do with nutrition and the fetal brain development. That is the name of the article. So protein, complex carbohydrates would be the carbohydrate we want to eat, not simple. Iron, copper, zinc. I don't know what the LC PUFA stands for. Iodine, vitamin A, vitamin B6, vitamin D, vitamin C. And then you see that goes down all the way. Selenium. That's one for moms who have a thyroid issue. If you're battling a sluggish thyroid, if you've ever been told you have a thyroid problem, you need 200 of selenium every day. If you have antibodies that are attacking the thyroid, the anti-TPO, my thyroid moms know what that is. The selenium at 200 a day will bring those antibodies all the way down before you have your baby. And you can eat them in a handful of seeds every day. If you can remember to do that, and get a good quality of sunflower seeds, you can get them down. Iodine for your baby's astrocytes. That's in kelp. No one should be taking iodine straight. That's not how we supplement iodine at all. It should be taken in kelp form, some kind of algae, seaweed, not even algae. Sometimes they have what is called bladder wrack. That one too will have the iodine in it, but I usually just put everybody on kelp, and that works out great. So again, we see the D, the B6 comes up again. The choline is high in your eggs. So most of my moms eat eggs. I don't think I've had anybody but my deacons who don't eat eggs, and they eat so many leafy foods, they tend to get it anyway. Your copper and your zinc, and then your glucose will come from your complex carb, and then your protein, iodine, zinc, choline, copper. So it's the same things you're gonna see over and over again for baby's brain development. So this is what's gonna get that brain moving the way we want, because we all want to sit on the front row and see our babies get it. Yes, and we all want to run around and say our baby made the honor roll. And then when they're 18, we all want to yell what Ivy League school they're going to. So that's how you get that started before time. So there's a big campaign, I'm in the blue, that the policymakers are talking about, and it talks about the first 1,000 days. And the 1,000 days is running from conception through age 2. And some of the studies say that you might have till age 3. Now, I heard about this campaign a few years ago. It's not being mentioned in any of the OB offices. It's not being mentioned in the pediatric offices. That's disturbing to me, because we have campaigns going on about all kinds of what I consider to be silly things, but we're not talking about this with our moms. And this, I hate to say, I even see when I go in people's homes. The issue that goes on here, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. But essentially what you have is 2, maybe 3 years to get this baby's brain moving the way it needs to go. And that's including the time prenatally, because those neurotransmitters that go off of reward, affect, mood, that all happened while you were carrying the baby. So when you read the research on ADHD and ADD, they talk a lot about dopamine center triggers and things like that. That started in the womb. It's gonna be, you can fix it, but it's gonna be hard to fix it. So that's why the diet becomes so important. Their brain is doing rapid growth from 32 weeks of pregnancy through the first 18 months. So there are so many things I didn't put here that start at 32 weeks of pregnancy with the baby's brain. That's like, I just want to tell everybody, 32 weeks, you're in brain gear. You want to be with everything you saw on the other list. Like, did I get that selenium in? Did I make that copper? Did I make that zinc? Did I make, I gotta grow my genius right now. So if you say that's coming next week, okay, so get on it. Because week 32 starts for you next week. So, you know, look at that as go time. You got to get yourself moving. And I have mostly heard that you had till 18 months to really set it. So they were doing a story on prison and children going to prison. And what they found is by age 3, they can tell which children will be tracking for prison by age 3. And they said that most of it they could guess at 18 months. And this has everything to do with nutrition and reading to the children. So it's not, because that's a whole nother topic, but I'm just gonna say, we gotta read to the kids every day from birth. I know they don't know what you're talking about, but with animated voices every day from birth, they have to be read to. And there's a huge issue with speech delays in the kids. It is coming from the devices. They've started releasing that. I went looking because I was going in so many homes, and if I could went in 5 homes and they all had 3-year-olds, I would go in one home and the 3-year-old is conversing like this. Conversing. And I would go in another home and I wouldn't know that child was 3 because the 3-year-old is not talking. Or the 3-year-old can barely converse with me. And I'm like, okay, what's happening here? And so I, just from watching over 6 years, I got to thinking, I wonder if, because some of my parents don't have TVs in their houses at all. And I don't see their kids ever with a phone. I don't even know if the parents necessarily have phones. And I don't see electronic things happening in the house. The kids are always playing with toys 24 hours a day. That's what I see them doing. And those are the kids I noticed that spoke very, very, very well. So I decided to do some hunting to see if anyone had done a study on it. And they had. And they have found that it doesn't matter if you're putting a learning program on those tablets or not, that it will affect their speech. They will have a speech delay. Doesn't mean child never catch up, but they are gonna have a speech delay if they're playing with cell phones, tablets, and sitting in front of the TV all day. They will not talk well. They won't have good vocabulary. They really just need to be read to in animated voices for 15 minutes a day, and then play with their toys. And they will speak very well. And to have people speak to them normally, not in a baby voice, but in normal voices, and talk to them even when they're a baby. And they started a commercial for it, and then I never saw it again. It was a commercial of a dad like chatting up his newborn baby, and they were watching a football game, and all the other dads are on the couch looking like, what is he doing? And he was like, oh, you're hungry. Let daddy fix you something to eat. And all the other guys are like, who is he talking to? And so the advertisement was about that your baby needs to hear so many, they have a set, it's a high number, so many thousands of words by 18 months to be tracking correct for their learning and development. So that's one thing, right? that we're reading. The second thing is nutrition. So what I have here is a baby on the breast and a formula nutrition sheet. So we have not discovered all the ingredients of breast milk. That's how many there are. We have over 100 known ingredients in breast milk. We know that breast milk changes from feed to feed. So it's the equivalent of you said, I'm going to have some eggs for breakfast. I'm going to have a salad for lunch. And I'm going to have, some fish and some black-eyed peas and greens for dinner. When you give your baby formula, you're saying, I'm going to have, based on how healthy it is, I'm going to have a cheeseburger and fries for breakfast, a cheeseburger and fries for lunch, a cheeseburger and fries for dinner, and I'm going to have that all the way for a year. That's all I'm going to eat is cheeseburger and fries. Now, do we really want to do that to our children? Not if we really think about it. And this is the good start. People love to tell me, oh, I thought the good start was a good formula. What's in good start? Well, good start has 16 milligrams of sodium and 54 milligrams of potassium, 1% of what's needed. That's not helpful. It has 3.8 grams of sugar, which is not needed. 1 gram of protein on a growing baby. 1 gram of protein on a growing baby. 2% of what they need in vitamin A. Only 4% calcium? These bones, what are we doing with the bones? That's all the calcium we're doing. 6%, I guess they figured we probably should do a little more D. Still really low. This is the baby's only food source. It's not like formula is a backup to table food. This is all the baby's eating for 6 months, and this is all that we're giving the baby. This is nutritionally dead. This is nutritionally dead. This is not helpful for a baby to eat. While your breast milk is variated to, first of all, each mama produces a different breast milk. So your baby's breast milk is built around the body it was grown in. And so it's meeting the needs of the body it came from. So that's number one. So now my milk is made just for me. They know that there is a difference between male milk and female milk. So now my milk is made for me as a little girl. Then they did the studies. This is all from NICU babies. As the moms were bringing in the milk, they were testing it. And then they learned the milk is different every single feed. It is composed differently. So the body is switching it out differently. And then they learned that those little dots around your breast that showed up when you got pregnant, are they there yet? Those are actually getting feedback from your baby's saliva. Now, can you beat that at all? You can't do no better than that. You cannot do any better. You can't beat it. So we have to make the breastfeeding work. And I know that the first 2 weeks are really hard. It's really hard to get a good feed going if we don't know how to latch, if we haven't studied latching and really worked on latching. But it's so worth not giving up on. I encourage all moms to take any breastfeeding class you can take that's really gonna deal in latching and getting a good latch for your baby so that you don't have sore nipples, so you don't feel like you wanna quit. Because if your breasts are hurting, you will feel like you wanna quit. Or you'll skip a few feeds, which is not a good idea either, because your nipples are hurting so bad. So I encourage every mom, that's an investment well spent. If you need an IBCLC to come to your house, pay for that. If you're in trouble, even in the first 24 hours, there are IBCLCs all over the place. Get on the phone, call one, pay that money for that visit so they can help you. If you have a baby in the NICU, don't shortchange. Get the IBCLC if there's not one there. If she can't get with you, you want somebody to work with you privately, have the IBCLC come to the hospital and work with you with your baby so that you can get your baby off to a good start. Because this is a nutritional plan. I don't even know what you'd want to call that. I don't know what we could call that because it's not good for the baby. So there's a baby with a good latch. So you can see the cheeks belong on the breast, the chin is on the breast, the nose is free. That's a great latch. All right? All right, and then that's it, because this is going into something else altogether. Questions?
So for the anemia, because I just figured out, I just got some blood tests, so now I'm anemic. Before I was like, I think 11, but now it's 9.6.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm taking Floradex, because I'm taking that, but I'm going to also take what you told me, Spirulina.
And Chlorella.
Yeah,
They're
like
coming
a
up
month.
hill.
Okay.
You can buy those and just take them. Some people sprinkle the spirulina, but it's very fishy smelling, spirulina. So if you feel like that smell my body, then do that. And you can get up fast. Floradex is a good product. It's a good product. Doesn't move as fast as spirulina and Chlorella, but moves much faster than iron pills. So Floradex is a good product. And we just want to get up by birth. We want to be up and we want to have a lot in the breast milk by birth. That's what we want to do. So yeah. The thing is that when you were 11, I would have had you.
Yeah, well, actually, she didn't tell me. I didn't take it because I thought it was the same as iron pills and it was gonna constipate me. So I didn't want to take it.
No, we're gonna send you to the iron pills are terrible. I don't know why we pass them out.
Yeah, the Floradex is a good supplement, and it's plant-based, and it has the vitamin C, which binds the.
Yeah, they put some
iron.
B6 in with it, so they do some things to really help it move. So it does move much faster than iron. Iron pill is the worst thing that your provider can really put you on because it's really not effective enough at all. Especially when you're dealing in pregnancy and you're trying to get somebody to a certain spot by a certain time. It's really, you don't have time to just let it drag and drag. I read that when we give 65 milligrams of the iron, that they really actually absorb anywhere between 15 and 30 of it. Yeah, the rest of it gets dumped. So I don't know how true that is, but that's what I definitely read on the absorption part of it. All right? Well, thank you for coming. We hope
Okay,
the
vegans
information
and
was
vegetarians, please.
good. Vegans and vegetarians. What is your question about the vegans and the
All the
vegetarians?
difference.
Yeah, well, just, how can they get in more of the protein?
Well, with their beans, but our vegans are not necessarily eating beans. I had some vegan clients that they were doing it on the protein. I mean, it took them a little while to figure out what they were gonna make to get the protein, but they were getting it. I would have to really look at their chart to see what they were doing. Now I wish I had, Infinite Nature, that's who she is. And they put the recipes up. The couple who runs Infinite Nature were clients of mine, and they hit their protein.
Okay.
And they are vegan, and they're mostly raw. I don't think they do anything but the dehydrator, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, which is even harder to achieve, but they achieve it through tons of things. They just checked everything they ate to see how much they were getting and how much they really measured out the serving sizes. It's a lot of work, but you have to know what you're eating. So Infinite Nature, they have a Facebook page, and they put up recipes, and they give a lot of ideas. But you can hit your protein as a vegan, and you're not exempt. Your baby still needs the 85 milligrams of protein. And I'm not anti them being vegan, because I understand that the reason that the animals have so much protein is because they're eating plants and flowers. So the protein comes there first. It's just not in such a dense form. So meat eaters are able to achieve more of it faster. I also had another young lady here who was vegan, and you know what she did? I forgot about this. She did certain types of nuts and seeds all day. And when I would come to her house, she would have on her breakfast bar paper towels with seeds and nuts measured into these paper towels. And so I asked her, I know this has something to do with something I told you to do, but I'm just trying to figure it out. And she was saying, okay, so I tabulated out my 85 grams of protein, and this is it on the counter. She said, because I probably won't, they did cook as vegans, but she said I probably would not be cooking that much. So she said, I just eat one of these paper towels an hour. Every hour I come down here. So she said, I measure it out every morning. So that's how she gets it. So if you're very particular, you can get the whole thing between seeds and nuts. If you measure out your cup of this, your cup of that, how much do I need in each thing? So, you know, no one can promote a vegan diet more than a vegan. So if you're vegan, then don't tell me you can't get the protein. You can get the protein. You have to eat properly even as a vegan. So it can't be vegan desserts all day. That's not what you can do. You have to really eat what you need to eat. There's still no excuse if you're vegan. Then